Now it's time for baking with Mother. Today we are making coconut ice.
Hello and welcome to this week's video with Baking with Mother. Today we've already made the white chocolate and raspberry fudge, so now we're going to go on to make our coconut ice. So you've just seen all the ingredients and equipment you're going to need. Now before this I've always made it in a bowl with a wooden spoon, but because I've made the fudge and I've already had to stir constantly for about half an hour, I'm going to cheat and use my mixer. So first off we start with adding our, I'm going to bring the bowl over, make it easy. We're going to add our icing sugar. Put that in our bowl of washing up water, and then our tin of condensed milk. Now I have tweaked these amounts slightly to include the whole tin of condensed milk. The original recipe just had less, but it's like, what would you do with that last bit of the tin of condensed milk? I thought it would just go to waste, so I will just increase the amounts of everything to cover the whole tin. And it does work well. So you just scrape all of this out. As always, the tin never likes to open fully. I have had it do it once. So just do your best to get it out. I have calculated it on 390, so there is no worry if you can't get all of the last of it out. So just keep going. Keep going there. Scrapey, scrapey, scrape. Get all of it out. That's going to be about as much I'm going to get. I might just quickly do is if I get rid of the knife and I switch to my spatula, I might be able to get the last little bit out. There we go, that's working a bit better. There should be a better design for this tin. Right, so just scrape that off so you've got it all, as much as you can anyway. Then this just needs mixing together. So I'm going to get rid of that now and put that tin in the washing up. But I put it inside the scales bowl so I know where it is. So you just mix these two together. This is very simple recipe. It does get very stiff, that does. That's why today I'm decided to use that. I'm going to grab my other spatula. Just make sure I can scrape down the sides of it. And then once that's mixed together, we just add all our coconut. I'm just going to add this in. The mixer does all the work today. Keep spooning it in and it will mix it all together. Keep going, there's a lot of it to put in. Obviously if you didn't want so much you could reduce the ratios down again. I'm happy to store some condensed milk, but I personally think it's best just to increase it and use the whole lot. Yeah, it's starting to get stiff now. Keep going. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to stop the mixer, and I'm just going to scrape it down, because if it's more drier ingredients have gone in the middle, it might be why it's struggling. Scrape around the edges. It's very, very stiff. So if you do have a mixer, or you don't have the strength in your arms, a mixer is going to be the way to go. We're going to take it off of there. Like that. And then just go around. And then we're just going to pop the rest of the coconut in one go. Yeah, put that out of the way. And set this going again. Okay, I think that is just about done now, so we're just going to lift that up now. Now we have to split it, and this is optional, you don't have to colour half of it, but I always do. I'm going to take half of the mixture out of here once I've finished scraping these beaters off, remembering to not put them in the washing up. Get it off. I don't want it all falling off once I move the bowl out of the way. So we're going to move half of it across to a bowl, and that's going to be the white half. We're then going to add a little bit of pink food colouring to this lot and set the mixer going to make it pink. So I think that's okay. Now this doesn't have to be an exact half, it only needs to be a rough half. So I kind of look at what's in the bowl. Scrape it all together. So as you can see there, I've scraped it all together and just tried to separate it. Oh, it looks a bit like a brain. Right, so now we just got to scoop out the half that is going to stay white and put it in our other bowl. And where it's so stiff, this is actually quite easy to do. I mean, it's not easy to get it out, but it doesn't fall back down. If you were doing this with like a cake, what was being left in the bowl would be falling down. A little bit more there. Just use that spoon, wooden spoon, just to scrape it off. There we go. So as you can now see, we have our half left that's going to turn pink. So we're going to pop that back in here. And then just use our spatula just to kind of move it down a bit. Okay, we're going to take our pink food colouring, and you really don't need much of this, I have to say. I've been quite impressed with how little you need. So just a few drops in there. Best to do a few and add a bit more if you need to. And we mix that in. Obviously, if you're doing it by hand, you'd be doing this bit by hand as well. Okay, so that is all now nice and pink, with very little effort with our arms and hands today. So just scrape off the beaters if you're using this, scrape off your wooden spoon if you're doing it by hand, or if you're using your hands literally, which you can do, give those a wash. Okay, take that out and put that in the washing up, and bring this across. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Make sure you've got plenty of ice and sugar. I'll pop them loose there just in case I need them. So we're going to start, get ourselves organised. water on my hands. You need dry hands. Now I'm using these silicone mats because I find these very helpful in this circumstance. I'm just going to, actually I'm going to move those two over there and then bring this over here. So get some icing sugar and just sprinkle it on whatever you're using, a wooden board, any kind of board or kitchen surface is fine. Just make sure it's got a light covering. I always end up with too much, but I worry it's going to stick. So there we go, that's got a nice covering on it. So I would definitely say do your white first, because otherwise you're going to have pink hands and that's not going to work well when you then pick up the white. So give it a little knead in the icing sugar just to smooth it out. And then all we're going to do is squish it down. Actually, I should probably get my rolling pin for this. I'll grab that. Over here. Yeah, so take your rolling pin, roll it in some icing sugar first, and then just roll it out. And just, you want it flattened out. How, you know, depending on how thick you like it, it can depend on how much you roll it. So it's not like pastry, but I will just attempt to just turn it because I don't want it to stick. Oh, see, we need a bit more icing sugar there. Quite a neat trick that I've just discovered. Turn that over. Right, and then once you've kind of got it roughly the right thickness, just shape it with your hands. Yeah, I'm just going to turn it so that it's that way. And just shape it up and just keep squishing it out. Adding a little bit more icing sugar on top so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. Just roll it out and then shape it, because you want them both to be as close to the same shape as you can get them. I don't have a set size, I just do however it kind of wants to go. Make it a little bit longer, I think. Obviously you don't want to flatten it, it just needs to be, I don't know, what's that, about 1/2 centimetre. So just straighten up your sides, straighten up your edges, so you've got a more defined shape. I think that's about fine for that one. We will be rolling it together again in a minute when we've got the pink as well. So we'll move that out of the way and we repeat the same process with the pink. So I've got a second one of those. Icing sugar again. Nicely over. Very messy, you need your apron. So then take your pink. Now obviously this is not such a neater ball as the other one was. So just form it into a ball however you can, however you need to. And then just bring it out. Still got a bit of white showing, so I'm going to give that a bit more of a knead just to mix that last bit in. I mean, the colouring is only for decoration, it doesn't add anything other than that. There's no flavours that's gone in it, so I'm going to add a little bit more icing sugar there. Move that out of my way over there. Just continue to give this a bit of a knead. So now we're ready to flatten it. So it's going to definitely giving this a bit of a squish to try and keep it in that shape that I want, that kind of oblong. Remembering which way you want to roll it depending on the shape. I mean, you could do it any shape, you could do it a circle, you could do it a square. So just keeping it squished into that shape. Keep an eye on your white one so you can have an idea of what kind of size you want. So I'll just get this out of the way. We can bring the white one back and go, right, is that roughly the right size? I think the pink's a little bigger. So we're just going to squish that a bit more. And when we think that they're roughly the right size, try and measure them if you want to. I'm going to use the rolling pins. They're pretty much the same size. Now this is the tricky bit. We're going to take the pink and we're going to put it on top of the white. So we're going to take this board and work out the best way to do it. I'll do it different every time. So we're just going to flip it over and just line it up. Use your hand just to support the other end. Peel that off. Position it on top. So we'll get that out of the way now. Move that over there. Bring this one along. So now you can see we've got them on top of each other. So a little bit of ice and sugar on the top, because then we're going to squish them together. So again, try and force them to the same shape, and then this is where you can give it a bit of a roll just to force the two halves to stick together. And then you can decide on your ultimate thickness. So if you don't want it too thick, you know, you can roll it a bit more. If you prefer it thicker, you can roll it less, and then just shape it up one last time. And that is essentially done. You leave this to set, ideally overnight, and then cut it up and eat it. So this will set, be covered and left to set overnight, and then tomorrow I'll bag it, cut it and bag it up. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you another time. Bye.
And there we have it. Thank you for watching this video, if indeed you still are. I hope it was useful. If you enjoyed this video, please drop us a like and subscribe. Check back soon for our next video, and if you have any suggestions, please pop them in the comments or email me directly on bakingwithmother@gmail.com.